What's up, and welcome to an all-new episode of Interview Nugs. I'm joined here today by the truth-seeking, innovative street epistemologist, Anthony Magnabosco. How are you doing today?
Good. What an intro.
Right.
Thanks very much for the nice words.
Oh, no problem. You deserve it.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the truth, I do want to find the truth. Doesn't everybody? Nah,
Yeah.
not everybody does.
Yeah, that is
Some
true.
people. Have you watched some videos maybe where you've seen people don't?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, it's good for us to seek truth in our own lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so let's jump into this first question. It's kind of an icebreaker. How many holes are in a straw?
Holes in a straw. Well, I think there's just two, right?
I don't know the answer. I've heard a lot of different answers. There are a lot of compelling answers, and
like on the cellular level, like if we were to zoom in, there's probably like what is a hole exactly? If it means like a space where an oxygen molecule can pass through, then there's probably millions, I would guess. I don't know. It's airtight, isn't it? Can air escape from plastic? I'm not sure.
it's a very interesting. I can see infinite amount of holes. I can see zero. I can see 2, 1. So it's just.
I see. It's the same hole. Oh, I didn't think about that. It's like, how could it be one? It's one hole.
I guess if you're looking at it at a physical level, you can shrink the straw down to just a flat surface, and then yeah. There's a lot of ways that people look at this, and it's just I like to ask this question and then see how people take it with their mind.
Yeah, I didn't even consider that it could be viewed as one hole. I suppose an argument could be made that it's one. Yeah.
Yeah, just a fun little opener right here.
Open.
This next one's kind of deep. How do you deal with fear?
I try to confront it. So I usually, if I find myself in a potentially fearful situation, I try to put my best foot forward and just try to diffuse it. Like if there was an incident at a restaurant or something, I might be afraid, but I think I'd still try to I'd put myself out there to get involved with the idea maybe of hopefully diffusing it. Do I do that all the time? I don't know. Fear is a weird thing, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So if it's somebody else's fear, I usually will engage with them. So I guess if I had a fear, I'd probably want somebody to do the same thing with me. Like if my kid was afraid of monsters under the bed, I probably wouldn't just say, well, just get in bed and, go to sleep. I'd probably sit down and talk with them. Well, what do you think is happening here? Why do you think that there's a monster in your bed? Oh, you heard a creak, a squeaking noise. What other explanations do you think it could be? Could it only be a monster, or could it be something else? So I'd probably just try to engage with it at some level.
I really like this answer you gave, because I've never heard anybody, well, at least on the show, of fear in someone else and helping someone else get through their fear. So it's always
it's hard for me to answer it, honestly, because I don't get afraid a lot these days. I used to in the past. I used to be a really anxious, nervous kind of kid. And over time, I just kind of got beyond it. That probably happens as you get older anyways. Maybe you mature, you start realizing, that it's better to just be yourself. Why pretend? Why make things more complicated than they are? So I don't get afraid a lot. I don't get afraid of public speaking or doing interviews or stopping somebody on the street or getting involved in an altercation. I don't really have much fear. But so that's well, I do meet other people that do have fears, but it would be a lie to say that I don't, I'm not afraid of anything. That's stupid. Yeah, I'm afraid of ending up homeless on the street. That's a fear of mine, but I don't dwell on my fears that much.
Cool. I like that. I guess with maturity comes.
I think so. Yeah. Maybe what What were you going to say?
Just maturity and an experience of like doing things like public speaking or interviews. The more you do those specific things, or just life in general,
Yeah.
just helps you deal with fear. So
You know what also helps though, and it's kind of fucked up. I don't know if I could. Can I swear on your show?
it's fine. It's all good. It's
Sorry,
YouTube.
it is YouTube. Sometimes people they're not cool with it. But what's messed up is that the more financial independence I get, like the more wealthy a person gets, at least in my point of view, like the less things that phase you. So like financial independence or security is a hell of a fear basher. You know what I mean? Like when you can pay your bills and you could, if there was an emergency that came up and you can cover it, like, which is messed up. Like that should be something that most people shouldn't have to be afraid of, is paying their bills and putting food on their table. It's kind of messed up that that's a thing. But that's honestly probably one thing that helps me not fear much, is having some of those basic needs covered. But it's not anything that I necessarily did.
Yeah. It's just like a threshold that you went past.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, yeah, I enjoyed that. Mature. A lot of the people that I have on the show are young
Oh
music
yeah.
artists, and
Mm.
so I'm enjoying this different perspective you're having on these questions.
Yeah, I guess maybe the average age of your interviews are probably younger, maybe 20s,
Yeah,
30s.
I
Yeah.
want I want to expand it to more people. So I'm glad that
Mm.
you're on the show today. I thank you for that, and
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
it's
How did you find street epistemology stuff? And I'm curious.
um through
YouTube,
Joe
probably
Rogan.
through Joe Rogan.
Yeah, he had a guest on the show. I forgot his name, but he had a book coming out, and it was discussing how people
Mm.
how they have illnesses and how they can also have mental illnesses where they not illnesses but defenses like immune
Hmm.
systems of their minds, and that can shut down and lead them to be more closed-minded. And he
Right.
discussed about street epistemology,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
I
Now that you mention it, like we were very excited that his name is Andy Norman, and
yes,
he's got a book called, I think it's called Mental Immunity.
yes,
And
yes,
when he was on, like I was listening to that interview and thinking he's nailing all the things that we're doing in SE. And then he mentioned street epistemology, so we got really excited to have it mentioned. That's cool. That was your intro into it.
yes, and I shot down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's
And
cool.
that's cool that you mentioned that he had these parallel thoughts of things that you were actually experiencing in your interviews. That I kind of saw that as I watched more and more interviews. Like he's onto something that you guys are kind of like growing in evidence of, like
Hmm.
how people can be shut off and closed-minded. So
Yeah, I'm not sure what came first. Like, did he stumble across SE videos and then that led to the theory, his hypothesis, or was it sort of at the same time? I talked to him a couple weeks ago. We had this wonderful discussion. So it's what's cool though, like I think you picked up on it, is that there are people from different starting points who are arriving at the same conclusion, that you can use it and you can engage with somebody using questions and giving plenty of time for people to process it and think about it and drill down to the epistemology. And you can really inspire somebody to change their mind or lower their confidence in their conclusion quite a bit, or adjust it. It's not always lowering it, but even just a slight little adjustment to their own standard. That could be really exciting and healthy for a person to do occasionally with the beliefs that they have. And that's
yeah,
what we try to do with SE. Yeah.
I love it. All right,
Yeah.
let's go to this next question here.
Sure.
What is a moment that you can share that has had a great impact on your life, and what lesson could we learn from that?
I recently had a falling out with my sister, young earth creationist. They think the earth is 6,000 years old and they're teaching their kids. And the science seems to suggest that it's something different. So we've always butted heads. But about a year ago, my sister basically said, we don't like what you're doing. And we also can't have you be the fun uncle around our kids, because we're trying to teach them essentially that you need to believe in a God in order to be good. She didn't say that, but that's kind of the implication. And we can't have you around as a good example, but you don't believe in any higher powers. So that was really tough, man. Like, you know, and of course I respected her boundary, but probably the learning example from that is how I interacted with her early on. So I would argue with her and her husband and ridicule their views. If they said that they believed that the Bible because it said this verse, then I would, of course, find another verse to show how silly it was or how wrong they were. And then I discovered street epistemology and this other way of engaging with people. But I think the damage was done. I had really damaged that bridge. So all the stuff that I did since then, since screwing up, didn't really, like all the improvement and self-growth that you can see in the videos, just my own personal growth, didn't mean anything to them. They were just fixated on the behavior that I did back in the day when I was arguing with them and disrespecting them. So hopefully that could be a lesson for people. Like, if there are people that you disagree with and you want to help them take another look at their views, arguing and ridiculing them isn't going to probably help them. It'll probably make it more difficult for you and potentially jeopardize your relationship. But if you can ask them, if you can question how they came to their conclusions and move at a speed that they're comfortable with, they're going to probably, and you're being respectful the entire time, you'll probably make more progress, and you probably will be able to still salvage the relationship. So that was a real painful lesson. And I suspect I'm not unique in that situation. I bet there's lots of people who have had bad conversations with their loved ones and wish they would have done it different.
That's something that I feel the same as well as you. If I would have known these techniques of just having conversations with people, then maybe my relationships with them might have been different had I had known these things.
Right.
So I that's why if people are out there struggling with talking to family members or anything like that, and you guys don't see eye to eye, maybe this is something that could help you guys out there. That's why I really thank you so much for being on the show, because I want more people to not only promote music artists, but just people like yourself that could genuinely help people.
Yeah. Well, even if your audience is into something like music, or they're interested in developing a career, you're going to probably engage with other people who you disagree with. And what do you do with those relationships? Do you argue and debate, or just ignore them and hope that the problem goes away? Or can you muster up enough courage to engage with them in a productive way, which is what we try to promote in street epistemology? Like, I understand that we disagree on this thing, but I'd like to see if we can talk about it in a way that we actually make progress. And that's valuable for anyone, regardless of the claim that you're talking about or the business you want to get into, or if you want to become a student. I think if your audience were to watch a couple of videos, it would give them an advantage in life, in the interactions that they have, that they may not have even known was out there, like available as an option. I don't know.
It's what it did for me. That's why like I said, I'm thankful for you to be on the show so I can share you with anybody who's watching my content.
That's cool. That's cool.
Okay, next question is kind of a lighthearted one. What is your earliest memory?
How do I know? My
the earliest memory you can remember.
I have this one memory when I was maybe 3 or 4, going to a park behind my mom's childhood home, so my grandparents' home in Illinois. and being at the top of this really huge metal slide. And I think my brother was there. I'm not sure. So maybe I was a little older. Maybe I was 4 or 5. But I remember just being there with my brother, who was younger than me. So we were young, and my parents weren't there. I don't remember my parents. Maybe they were, but in my memory, they weren't there because the park was right behind their house. And we got in trouble because we went down the slide, and then there was this little girl who like climbed up to the top, and she was about to come down the slide. But me and my brother like put all sorts of sticks and grass at the base of the slide. So she went slide down. I don't know what we were thinking. And her dad rushed over and got really mad because she was up there at the top of the slide crying. So we ran home. We ran to my grandparents' home. And I remember like being terrified because it seemed like the dad was looking for us. Because I remember like we were looking out the window and he was like, with his daughter in tow. Like, I don't know if he may have just been walking home. That's one of the earliest memories that I have. Tormenting kids at the park, basically.
It's a very funny answer right there. I like that one. Okay, this next question, another lighthearted one. If you had to be an animal, which animal would you pick?
Duck.
Duck. Any particular reason why? That was a very quick answer.
I've thought about this answer. A duck is very smooth on the surface, but below the surface, they're paddling furiously the whole time. And that's me.
I like that. Duck. I'm going to give that some more consideration.
Well, I mean, I spend a lot of time promoting these ideas of street epistemology and trying to have better conversations and how do we make it better? Like there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes, but also I'm trying to, present it like a calm, rational, exciting way about promoting it. So yeah, duck.
That's kind of how like I haven't done street epistemology with strangers, but like with people in my family, it's kind of like that duck analogy. Like in my mind, my mind is racing like, oh, how do I ask this? What do I ask? And then on the surface, it's like the most calmest conversation I've had. Yeah.
Although I got to say, when you get really proficient at SE, you're not even doing the paddling. You're floating alongside of them and they're doing the paddling, right? You're sort of just kind of keeping up with them. Yeah.
I'm still a grasshopper right now. So
that's awesome. Where do you practice it, or do you wait for opportunities to come up where you do it? Or
right now I'm focused on these interviews and my next album. But when it cools down, because I live in Las Vegas, it's super hot. I want to try to do some park interviews.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
we're leaving for Las Vegas tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but we're flying into Vegas, then we're driving to Utah, and we're in Utah for 7 days, and then we drive back to Vegas for a couple of days before flying out.
That's nice. Utah is very beautiful.
Yeah. Seems like there's some big storms maybe and floods. I don't know if you were noticing that. TikTok was just covered. Okay. TikTok was covered with all sorts of videos of the parking lots getting flooded of those trails. But yeah, it should be fun.
Well, I just hope that everything clears up by the time you get there.
We're hoping. Yeah.
All right. This next question is, who or what are some of your influences?
Who and what? What are my influences? Well, there's a really great podcast called You Are Not So Smart, which is similar to what you picked up on when you were watching Joe Rogan with Andy Norman talking about street epistemology. So if you like that stuff, you will probably love the podcast You Are Not So Smart, because it talks about the things that our brains do to form beliefs and protect beliefs from examination. So the act of just becoming aware of the things that our brains do to protect ourselves, it was really profound. That was extremely helpful. So I would listen to a podcast episode of that, and then a couple of days later go out and do a street epistemology with what I've just learned in the back of my mind about like cognitive dissonance or or the backfire effect or something along those lines. These concepts were helpful to understand. So that was a big part of it. And then YouTube probably is another influence, like being able to record my talks and then put them on my YouTube channel and get feedback from people who are watching. That was extremely, like, that feedback is so valuable. I don't know if you do that with your show or not. And it can be hard to open yourself up to criticisms like, oh, that sucked, or why didn't you ask that question? But getting that kind of negative feedback, and most of it was constructive, but that was extremely useful. Yeah.
Sweet. I'm looking to get some more feedback in general. So just
Oh yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Good.
just still building right now. So
Mm-hmm.
all right. This next question is, what is a secret that you wish to share with the world that could improve the lives of others?
I don't know if it's a secret. It seems like it's so obvious. And that is that you should question everything. Question everything, worship nothing. Every statement that anyone ever makes is worthy of exploring, even if it might be difficult. You know, if somebody says something and it's tied to who they are, their identity, just you asking if you can challenge it could be upsetting to people. But there's real value in asking questions. But I suspect most people know that. So I don't know if it's really a secret. Maybe it is a secret for some people. What's another secret? Like, another secret could be that here's a big secret I don't think a lot of people realize, is that you don't need to know nothing. You don't need to know anything about the topic being discussed in order to challenge the person who's making the claim. So a lot of times you think, oh, if I want to talk to this specific group about that specific claim, I really need to study up on it. But when you're doing street epistemology, they're the ones that have the answers, presumably. So all I need to do is engage with them and ask questions to reveal the answers that they think that they have. But as you know, in the process of doing that, it could become apparent that the person who's making the claim doesn't have the answers. So that's a big secret. Like, that's so counterintuitive. You think, oh, I really need to know shit in order to engage with somebody, but you don't. And you can have a profound conversation with them where all you're simply doing is asking questions.
That's why I love street epistemology. It's
efficient.
Yeah.
It's efficient, and it takes the pressure off of you. You don't need to know anything. They're the ones who are making the claim. They're the ones that became convinced because of the reasons that they have. Yeah. Take me through your process. Let's walk through this together. And people end up they enjoy doing that too. They're not often given the opportunity to say what they think and how they concluded that it's true.
Yeah. It is very efficient. You are right. Okay, this next question is, when you're feeling sad, what is something you do to make yourself feel happy, or at the least not feel sad anymore?
I don't usually feel sad. Well, sometimes I get sad. I don't like this answer, especially if you have younger viewers, but I will sometimes get intoxicated as an escape, but it doesn't usually fix anything. It just sort of delays it. I don't know, but I do find myself sad, but it's not a lasting thing. Yeah. Okay. But sometimes, maybe have a beer or two and then go to bed early, right? And then you wake up the next morning, you sort of forget about it. But that doesn't really that's not really solving anything. So I don't have a good answer on that, unfortunately.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay, this next question is another lighthearted one. What is your go-to meal?
McDonald's. I could eat McDonald's 4 days a week. No, well, I really like McDonald's. I think that food is delicious. I know it's not good for you. And I love Chipotle too. If I could probably have Chipotle 3 times a week. I love Panda Express. What's my go-to food? Oh, pizza. It's got to be pizza. I love pizza. Growing up in Chicago, I really miss Chicago style pizza.
Do you like the deep dish or you like the Chicago thin crust?
Chicago thin, man. Chicago thin.
Yes.
Yeah, that
I,
whole deep dish. It never really it was a novelty. It wasn't a staple for us growing up.
that's something I try to find out here in Las Vegas. There's a couple spots that I go to, but
Oh yeah.
just
Well,
for
I'm
that,
excited. You guys have like White Castles out there, so I'll at least be able to get my White Castle fix.
there you go. All right. This next question is another lighthearted one. Where is your favorite place?
I mean, I really like my house. I don't like going places much these days. Like I don't. It's kind of a hassle. Even before COVID, it was kind of a hassle traveling. My favorite place, I think, is my house right now. Yeah. Sorry, got a phone call coming through.
All right. We're almost done here. A few more questions. What is a change you wish to see in the world, and do you see it coming to fruition?
A change in the world. What is a change in the world? What kind of change would I want to see in the world? Is that what you said? And then how would it come to fruition?
Yes.
Ooh. Well, the change that I want to see in the world is exactly what you're seeing in the Street Epistemology videos. People striving to understand each other and get to the real truth of the matter. And elevating opinion well, not elevating opinion to the same level as fact. I see a lot of that. A lot of people. That's a real big problem. That's a real big challenge that I think we have, is that people think, well, that's my preference, and therefore it's on equal footing as the actual truth. I prefer to think that karma is real, therefore karma is real, because I prefer to think that it is. That's a very dangerous mentality that a lot of people, I don't think they realize how dangerous that outset could be, that mindset could be. So that's a real big challenge that I think we're facing, that I'd like to get past it. And what we're doing, like what you see in the SE videos where we have our box of Tic Tacs, right? You ever see those? We have these exchanges with people. Like, if I think there's an even number of total pieces in here and you think that there's an odd number of total pieces, do you think we can both be correct? Or do you think one of us is correct and the other one is mistaken? And depending on how people answer, if people say you can both be factually correct, if we were to count the total number of pieces, that's at the heart of the issue that we're facing today. So I'm dedicating my life to trying to fix that through dialogue.
All right. This is a lighthearted question. What is a superpower you wish you had?
Somebody asked me this once before, so I have an answer off the top of my head. I would like to be able to discern if people are telling me the truth or not. I want to see if people really believe the stuff that they're telling me.
So kind of like telepathy, or
I don't know, like something visible that I would be able to detect when they were talking to me, and I could evaluate like how sure they are that that's true. Yeah. Are they attempting to deceive me? That's what I would like to really find out. Am I being lied to? I think that'd be a great superpower to have.
Yeah, I've never thought of that before, of discerning whether the truth is coming out of someone's mouth or not.
Yeah. It's my spouse. What about my kids? Are they telling me the truth? What about the person behind the counter there?
Yeah.
They seemed really sincere and confident, but they were lying to me? Like that'd be kind of nice to know.
That would be a very, very great power to have.
Yeah. Although, wouldn't it be something like if it was really accurate and 90% of the time everyone was lying to you? The discovery that almost everyone's lying to you all the time to some degree or the other would probably be pretty depressing. But I still think I'd want to know.
Would you see yourself in the mirror and know if you're lying to yourself. I don't know. I'm getting
Ooh, dude. Yeah, I
like
would
I
think it
was I
would it would
was
it
I was
should work that way.
imagining when you said like if you could see somebody, like would they like light up or become
Hmm.
less dim or something like that? And then
Yeah.
like if you weren't being truthful to yourself when you walk past a mirror, would you be dim or
Right. You're
wow,
like,
you got
do I really have a favorite child or not? Like everyone says you don't. But what do I have a favorite? And then depending on my answer, I'd be able to tell if I was lying or not. That's a trip. Yeah,
I don't know.
that'd be my superpower.
I'm gonna give that superpower a lot more thought now that you put that in my head. I'm gonna think about that one.
Yeah.
All right, this last one is a one that I have dealt with in the past. How do you deal with anger?
Did you ask me this one?
No,
Or
I
was
asked
that
you about
sadness?
that was fear.
Oh, that was fear.
Yeah.
Man, you've been asking me all sorts of questions like that. Okay. Anger. Well, okay. So I'll watch something on the news and I'll get angry about it. But it's usually quickly followed by a feeling of not being able to do anything about it. So almost like helplessness. And then I start thinking, well, if I really can't do much to change it immediately, then why am I getting angry about it? So I do some self-talk. And why am I getting angry about it? What can I do about it? Even if I had resources to do something about it, what would I do? And would it really make a difference? So anger usually results in me getting motivated to do something to try to fix it in some way. So like maybe I'll be motivated to go and you know what? I've been sitting on that video long enough. I'm going to start editing it. It takes 20 hours to edit this conversation, but I'm going to do it because that was a good talk. And that's an idea that needs to get out there. And so getting angry often results in me getting motivated to do something. It motivates me into action oftentimes.
I never heard that. Being motivated into
Yeah.
correcting what made you angry.
Yeah. Why not? Like what else should you do with that feeling of anger? Like if you don't turn anger into a productive, I don't know, endeavor, then I don't know. Yeah. I don't want to just sit with my anger. I want to do something about it.
Okay, I like that answer. It's I've heard a lot of people say they just channel it into something else. Like, well, basically the same thing.
It's
Do
kind of
something
saying that.
productive.
Yeah, I try
But
to.
I like your approach of like actually motivating yourself to fix the thing that made you angry.
Yeah.
So that's like an even better response to anger. I like that. So that was the last of the interview questions. The next couple of questions are just promotion for yourself and a little bit for the show.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have coming up? Is there anything you want to plug or promote?
We're working on a course to teach people how to do street epistemology, and we have volunteers from around the world who are helping us with that. So I've been quite busy with that. I have a slew of videos still in the queue that need to be edited. I don't think I'll be going out and recording many more talks because I'm now the executive director of a nonprofit called Street Epistemology International. So we can put resources into the hands of people who want to do this. So like if you literally wanted to go and record talks and you were serious about it and you started incurring some expenses to do it, you could submit a funding request to our nonprofit and we can reimburse you for a camera or materials or whatever. We want to we want people to help us promote this. And we have other people are donating to our group. People are donating good money to help us fund others to promote this method. So that's been occupying a lot of my time. That type of stuff. Like, how do we move this approach into the mainstream? How do we study it scientifically to see if it works? How do we develop training materials to teach people how to do it? that's been my focus these days. So I've been largely focused with that. So streetepistemology.com is a great website. And then there's also streetepistemologyinternational.org if anyone listening wants to donate to what we're doing. But ultimately, we want to get some grants, get some real money behind what we're doing so we can partner with other groups and really develop this method.
That sounds exciting right there. I'm myself, I'm interested in finding out what is entails in that. So
cool.
Yeah, that's very, I'm going to look into that myself. So,
okay, awesome. Yeah.
And then this last question is just some promotion for the show. I know you're not a musician, but you may know some musicians that you could recommend for ear nugs. And then also any recommendations that you would have for interview nugs.
Okay. None come to mind right now. I'm trying to think if I even know any musicians. I don't really get involved in the music world. This is one of the reasons I was kind of interested in talking with you, because I don't really touch that world very much. Mm-hmm. I don't listen to music. I'll listen to podcasts, or I know it sounds crazy. And my wife, it drives my wife crazy. It drives my wife batty, but actually I really like Prince. So I'll often have Prince or 80s music going on, but generally it's quiet, or I have a podcast going. I don't usually listen to a lot of music. So I don't have a lot of, I don't know a lot of musicians, but if I think of one, then I'll be sure to pass them your way.
Okay. If you think of one, send me them and I'll put them in the description.
Okay.
And then anybody that you would have in mind for interview nugs that would
be
good for an interview?
Oh yeah, I got a ton of. What would be your ideal next interview? Who would you want? That would be helpful for me to get a sense of who would you want to interview that maybe is outside the music world.
From you, I would just any rising street epistemologists out there, or anybody who's established. I mean,
okay, I know a lot of those folks.
Yeah, anybody who's trying to get their channel off the ground and wants some promotion that you.
Yeah. And if they're in the music area, a little extra bonus there, huh?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be a musician. I've booked an interview with a comedian. I'm trying to do more, get some UFC fighters since I'm here in Las Vegas. So it's open to anybody.
Oh, you should talk to David Smalley. I don't know if you know him or not.
Okay.
Podcast. David C. Smalley might be a good, interesting interview for you. I think he knows the guy in who does the Let's Get Ready to Rumble thing. He's friends with that guy.
Bruce Buffer.
Yeah, I think he's good friends with
or his brother Bruce, or I forgot the other guy's name. Yeah.
Are they brothers or something like that?
Okay. If you think of anybody else that you want to send me, just send me the email. And like I said, I'll throw them in the...
There's a whole slew of people who are getting into street epistemology who would love to be interviewed by you. There's this one guy, his name's Nathan. He goes to these music festivals all the time, but he interviews people there. His channel is called Abstract Activist SE.
Okay.
Or I think it's just Abstract Activist. And you'd probably really get along with him. And he's kind of famous for, he has this survey that he just invites people to sit down on his blanket at these festivals, and he records it. Like, how do you define the word true? And
is that the gentleman that's doing the questions for the interview?
Sounds like it.
Whenever he does a podcast, he's in that red room.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know a lot of names, but I know.
Yeah. Isn't he? He's an interesting guy.
Yeah. I would love to have him on the show. So
okay.
Yeah, that's a great recommendation.
All right. I'll forward your email to him.
Okay, sweet. I appreciate that a lot. Yeah. Okay, that's the end of the show here. I just want to say thank you again to Mr. Anthony Magnabosco here for joining us, and everybody out there, we'll see you next time. See ya.